The topic today is basically how to overcome a low GPA and a low MCAT to get into medical school if that's your dream. Um, it happened for me. So I basically always, whenever I'm trying to tell my testimony or give advice, if I can do it, I promise you. Like Caleb, Brittany, y'all my witness, let these people know. I wasn't the smartest apple out the bunch, but if I could do it, you could definitely do it. You just need to definitely have your mindset and have a plan and, execute. Make sure you try to perform at your highest level and you will make it. So, with my story, where should I start? I guess I'll start in undergrad since y'all are in undergrad. I got some water too because I don't normally do a lot of talking. But I'll start with my undergrad story. So, unlike y'all, which I was telling my sister earlier, I feel like y'all are already 10 steps ahead of the game because you are in these clubs that promote minority people getting into medical school, and you guys are, sharing resources with each other so that, your application will be a little bit, it'll stand out compared to other, applicants, which is really good because when I was in undergrad, I did not attend many clubs like I should have. And that's one advice I want to give to all pre-meds applying to medical school. Definitely join clubs. This one here that you're in now that you guys created, excellent to put on your application. Joining clubs like MAPS if you want to. That's a great club to put on your application. What else are some other good clubs? I didn't do them, so I don't know many, but I participated in maybe 3 my entire time in college. During my undergrad, my 4 years in undergrad, I probably seriously committed to 3. It's easy to say you joined a club, but if you're not really active in the club, then I feel like you shouldn't really put that on your application. I understand in the application process when you're applying to medical school and you have to submit your primary application, there is a slot. It's called like work and activities. You can add up to 15 of your activities that you've done that you feel like are important in your journey to medical school. And sometimes it gets hard to fill up all of those 15 slots. So if you have joined clubs where you weren't extremely active in it and you just need those just to fill up those areas, then okay, that's cool. But while you're young and while you have time to apply to medical school, make sure you join clubs and make sure you're committed to those clubs. Don't just join it and, don't really do anything in it. Learn something from it. So yeah, so definitely make sure you join clubs. What else in undergrad would I say do? You don't necessarily have to have a major in biology or chemistry like a lot of medical school students have. You can definitely apply to college and your undergrad degree could be anything you want it to be, anything you're interested in. Just understand when you're applying to medical school, the main goal is that you learn about the body, right? So classes that will, help you learn more about the body and about the things you'll be learning in medical school, it happens to fall under a degree like biology or chemistry, but you don't have to do that. Just understand you will have to take those prerequisite courses before you apply to medical school. So just keep that in mind. What I did in undergrad that I don't recommend anybody doing is falling behind and staying behind. I think it's okay to fall off sometimes. Everybody's not perfect, we know that. But you want to make sure if you fall off a little bit, you also get back up and show improvement. Unless you want to take post-bac classes after undergrad, or unless you want to, do a master's degree after undergrad to increase your chances of getting into medical school, make sure you do the work in undergrad while you have the time, because you don't want to spend extra time trying to play catch up, because everything you guys are learning now, if you guys, do all of you for the most part have a biology or chemistry degree? What are y'all degrees?
Bio.
Bio.
I was neuroscience and I changed to psychology.
Okay. What about the last
Hello? Can y'all hear me?
Yes. What's your major?
Boom. Okay, so I just graduated this semester actually, and my major was neuroscience.
Neuroscience. Brittany, you want to say your major? Are you listening to us?
I'm listening. My major was biology. I was basic, But that what you were saying is very true. Like, one of my classmates was a music major, and as long as you focus on those prereqs and show your competency in, some type of upper level science, then you're good to go.
Right, exactly. So I'm guessing, since I didn't really hear much about neuroscience when I was an undergrad, and I graduated in 2015, so I'm definitely a little bit older than y'all. But that really was not a popular major, but the fact that both of you will have a neuroscience degree, I'm guessing it's up and rising. And it sounds like it's based off a lot of science courses as well. So you guys should be good in that category where you have most of your prerequisites to directly apply to medical school if that's what you want to do. But my story, like the topic it's about, is how to overcome a low GPA. So if like we have somebody who's already graduated, if your GPA is not where you think it should be to apply to medical school, then it doesn't mean you can't get in. So I heard yesterday people were asking, did you flunk a class? Did you not pass a class? How does that look? Just like my sister, I had to retake organic chemistry multiple times. So if you flunked Orgo, or if you flunked Gen Chem, or whatever the class may be, if you flunked a class or got a D in a class, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You may have to take more classes. Even if your GPA is subpar, you may have to take more classes just to show that, hey, I'm capable of improving and passing these upper level classes. But if you already showed improvement while you were in undergrad, you can just go ahead and directly apply. So for example, if you took organic chemistry maybe your sophomore year and you failed organic chemistry, but you took it again your junior year and you got an A in it, and you also took a whole bunch of other upper level science courses your junior year and you got A's in those classes, and then senior year you took more upper level science and math classes and you excelled in all of those classes, you showed an upper level trend while you were still in undergrad, you may be able to go ahead and directly apply to medical school. Because one thing I have learned, to overcome a low GPA, or to overcome an F in a class or a D in a class or whatever the case may be, you have to show improvement. That's like key. And it sometimes takes, people longer than others, but at the end of the day, we're all going to achieve the same goal. So don't really look at time as a factor. Yeah, and don't let people discourage you. I personally haven't had like a advisor tell me that I can't do it or I couldn't make it to medical school, but I know people who are in medical school to this day who have had like school advisors tell them, hey, this is not the route you may want to go down. Right, exactly. You gotta, just don't listen to those people. They're negative. They probably wanted to be doctors and they mad at anybody who's trying to make it. So, exactly. You got to prove them wrong all the time. So back to how to overcome a low GPA. If you have graduated or if you are about to graduate and you're ready to apply to medical school and you know your GPA is not where you need it to be, consider a post-bac program. That's what I did personally. The post-bac program, it is intertwined with your undergrad GPA. So if you're really looking to just increase that number, then you want to do a post-bac program. If you're looking to say, hey, that was undergrad, I want to do something else, have a degree as well, and show that I can excel in these upper level classes, do a master's program. There's also bridge programs. I just learned about it this year, actually. Drexel University, if you guys have heard of that university, I think it's either in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. Okay, yes, it's in PA. So in Pennsylvania, you have Drexel University, and it's a bridge program. So if you are willing to take maybe a gap year, even though it's not truly a gap year because, well, I guess it will be considered a gap year. Getting your master's is still considered your gap year. So basically, you'll be taking a gap year and have automatic acceptance into their medical school if you do well during that gap year with them. And you're working towards like your master's, but you're not really getting your master's. You're just taking the master's courses, and then just based on how well you do in those courses, you'll be automatically accepted into their medical school. I feel like that's extremely smart, and I wish I would have known about that like maybe 3-4 years ago, honestly. But everything happens for a reason. I'm glad it did because, everything will fall into place how it's supposed to. You just gotta, I hope we're all Christians. You gotta believe in God. So that's how I had to think about life and think about my situation and make it through. But let's focus back on school. Basically, I took a post-bac program at UNC Greensboro right after I graduated from UNC Charlotte. That's where I got my BA in biology. My science GPA at UNC Charlotte was, what was it? It was like a 2.3, honestly. If I'm being honest, I could be honest with y'all. It was a 2.3 science GPA when I
Yes, please be honest.
when I graduated from UNC Charlotte in 2015. Then I did a post-bac at UNC Greensboro August, which is fall of 2016. So I just gave myself a little break after I graduated December 2015. So I did my post-bac at UNCG for a year and a half. So I did it for fall semester, winter semester, and then I did it a summer semester. So that's kind of like, it's not a year and a half, but it's over a year. And I don't remember the exact amount of credits I took, but I know overall, because that's not the only post-bac I attended. I also, okay, let me just lay it straight out. So when I went to UNC Greensboro, finished there after being there a year in the summer. Then for some reason, I felt so confident in myself that I wanted to take the MCAT right after I finished my summer course at UNC Greensboro. So I ended up taking the MCAT like a crazy person without studying or anything. I don't know why I thought just taking my prerequisite courses would help me do well on the MCAT. And I heard somebody ask that yesterday, like, do your prereq courses help with the MCAT? You cannot just solely rely on your prereq courses to do well on that MCAT. You will fail miserably like I did the first time. So definitely study. So yeah, I took the MCAT right after my summer course. So this was June. What was this? This was June 2017. Yeah, June 2017. I took the MCAT for the first time. I applied to medical school. And let me tell you my stats. At UNC Greensboro, I think I finished like with a 3.75 science GPA, and it was like maybe a 3.8 like overall GPA. I took like this one course called like what is it? Like medical terminology. That doesn't count towards your BCBM, but I felt like it was important to take that course because I'm trying to work in the medical field and I need to know what stuff like BID, TID, QHS, like I need to know what those terms mean. So it's smart to take a medical terminology class if you haven't. Get that easy A. Just know it won't go towards your science GPA, but if you get an A in it, good. It's gonna raise your GPA no matter what. So yeah, I finished with a 3.75 science GPA at UNC Greensboro, like a 3.8 overall. And then I took my MCAT, got it back in July. I scored a 485 the first time I took it. And that was just me solely, like I said, relying on my prereq courses. I hadn't even taken a practice exam, no Kaplan, no Princeton. I didn't even know what that was. I just was very ignorant to the process. I didn't take the time to figure it out. And I didn't even really know who to go to. Like, I don't know, I just was not a school person. So I did not rely on my resources like I should have in undergrad. So definitely take advantage of your advisor. Even if your advisor is a butthole, request another one that can help you. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of your library while you're in undergrad. Take advantage of tutoring sessions. Definitely, these upper level classes are meant to be hard. They're meant to weed us out. So make sure you don't fall into those traps. Take advantage. But I keep getting sidetracked. What was I about to? Back to UNC Greensboro. Yeah, I finished well. That's pretty much the overall story of UNC Greensboro. I did it for a year in the summer. I did really well in the program, and I felt confident enough that I would do well on the MCAT. So I took it a few days after I finished my summer courses at UNC Greensboro. Scored horribly, had already started my medical school application while I was waiting for my score, because when you take the MCAT, you have to wait a month before you get your scores back. So I was working on my primary application. I ended up submitting it before I got my score back, because when I think about it, I just want to cry, because it's like, dang, what was I thinking? Like, geez. I didn't take advantage like I should have. I could have shortened my time, but like I said from the beginning, everything happens for a reason. So we're not going to focus on time at all. That was one of my biggest weaknesses during my application to medical school. I kept worrying about the time, and right now I'm 26. I will be 27 in July, and I used to feel like being 26 and going to medical school was old AF. And I'm laughing now because it's like, I'm still young, like I'm still in my prime, like I ain't got no face makeup on, and I'm looking at myself like, where are the wrinkles? Like they're not here yet. So I have time, and I just need to, just like you all, if you are worried about time, just don't, because at 30 something years old, I know people have seen like these little quotes and stuff on Instagram and stuff, but regardless, when I'm 30, I will be a doctor versus giving up on my dreams of being a doctor and being something I wouldn't be happy with. So just keep fighting for your dream. But back to back to my application process. So like I said, I had already submitted my application, my first, yes, exactly. Never rush it. MD is still MD. But I submitted my first application to medical school a year and one summer after I had graduated from UNC Charlotte with my undergrad degree in biology. I ended up having to get a BA in biology instead of a BS. And I'm taking up too much time. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to explain everything. If I'm not getting to the point, let me know. But I just want to let y'all know why I got a BA, a Bachelor's of Arts in biology instead of a bachelor's in science of biology. Let me just explain why. Because my goal when I first attended UNC Charlotte was to obtain my BS in biology, but it didn't work out that way. So the class that held me back was organic chemistry. It was a beast, and at that time I was so distracted. Like the way I study now, people would be amazed if I told them the way I studied back then, because I just so naive and just, I don't know, feeling like I was taking life for granted for sure. Just, I don't know, just living and not thinking. I was seriously in the moment. But when you're focused and when you're an undergrad, and if you know your goal is to be a doctor, you can't do that. Like, not if you want to go ahead and be a doctor. If you want to wait, then okay. But if you know what you want to do from the get, stay focused. Don't live in the moment. I mean, you can live in the moment, but you need to also be aware that that moment is just a moment. And that's what I didn't do. So I failed organic chemistry twice. I took it the first time, like it was, I don't know the year exactly, but it was winter semester, and I got an F. And I wanted to hurry up and retake the course. So I signed up for it during the summer semester that same year. And if you know anything about organic chemistry or any upper level courses, if it's not your strength, I feel like you shouldn't take it over the summer. Just because if you know it's your weakness, if you know you failed that course before, or if you know it's a course that you just aren't strong in, just consider holding off and waiting until like the fall or winter semester to take it, when you have more time to actually learn about that subject, because in the summer it goes by like a blink of an eye. So that was my mistake. I didn't do well. I didn't learn pretty much anything clearly because I got an F in the course that winter semester. And then for some reason, I felt like I could pass it that summer semester. Got another F, 2 Fs on my transcript for the first time. So that was devastating. But I ended up retaking it again, like maybe a year later. It was like a fall semester. And I ended up getting a D in the course. So, and I was literally like maybe 0.1 away, but it don't matter. I received what I received. It was a D. And so to get your BS, you have to get a C or better in organic 1, so you can move on to organic 2 and get your BS in biology. But because I could only get a D, which is considered passing, but still not passing to go to the next, course, I had to settle for my BA in biology. And honestly, I don't know. Well, yeah, I did have to, because at my school at the time, you could only retake a course, I think, up to 3 times. So yeah, there was no way I could have even stayed an extra year and retook it. I think I had taken the course the maximum times I could take it at that university. So yeah, that's why I got my BA in biology. So just be a just observe and take my advice, because I just want to be like a living witness to you all, of what not to do sometimes. Like, I'm gonna also give you advice on what to do, but also just, if you can avoid the obstacles I led myself into, then that's better for you. So definitely make sure you're staying focused in these courses. A course I ended up having to take organic for the 4th time at a different university. It was during my post-bac at UNC Greensboro. And that time I took advantage of the resources at the school. I attended every tutor session after my Orgo class, and I ended up getting an A in that class. So it wasn't that, I'm stupid or that I wasn't capable of learning it. It was just I wasn't willing to take the time that I needed to take to learn it at that moment. But once I did take the time to do what I needed to do to learn the material, that's when I received the grade I wanted, So in these upper level courses that you guys are going to have to take, or if you're already taking them, just remember at the end of the day, this is stuff I have to know. And if I don't learn it now, I'm going to have to learn it again later if I want to be a doctor. So, yeah, definitely focus. Make sure your grades are as high as you can have them while you're in undergrad. And if it's not, like I said, you can do a post-bac program, you can do a master's program, you can do a bridge program. I'm getting tired of talking. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm talking y'all ear off. But yeah, exactly. And your MD will still be the same. So basically, where should I go from here? I talked about my post-bac. It was at UNC Greensboro. I live in Durham, North Carolina. So I was driving from Durham to Greensboro pretty much Monday through Friday to go to class, because my classes weren't online. Especially for like classes like orgo and anatomy and all of that stuff. You want to make sure it's in class, because a lot of medical schools don't accept like online versions, except, during this time, of course, this is a different circumstance. But if things are moving regularly, then they're not going to want to see you taking online courses in these, prereq science courses. So like I said, I was driving from Durham to Greensboro. That got old quick, especially after I had ended up applying to medical school for the first time. Didn't get into any school. I applied to 20 schools in total. I did 10 MD schools, and then I did a separate application for DO schools and did 10 DO schools. So it was a total of 10, with a 485 MCAT, like I told you guys, a post-bac from UNCG for a year in a summer, 3.75 GPA, and a undergrad science GPA of a 2.3. My cumulative was like a 3.0 at UNC Charlotte, if I didn't already say that. So yeah, imagine those stats, especially that 485 MCAT. Like, you don't hear stories like that. Like, you have to be realistic at the end of the day. And I was not realistic. I went ahead and proceeded and still thought I would get into medical school. But I'm not going to lie, y'all. I retook the MCAT for the second time in August. So I took the MCAT for the first time June 2017. It's a long timeline. If y'all are following the timeline, I took it June 2017 for the first time. Got my score July 2017. Was disappointed. Signed up for it again in August 2017 because I had already submitted my application before I had received my July score. And like I said, I applied to 20 medical schools. That was expensive for me at the time. So yeah, I was like, I'm about to definitely do what I need to do or what I can do to get into medical school for the 2017-2018 cycle. So yeah, I got my score back after I took it for the second time in August. I got my score back in September, and got one point higher. So it went from a 485 to a 486. So yeah, I'm Googling at this point, is it possible to get into medical school with a 486? I'm just trying to stay hopeful. Like I'm a very hopeful person now that I think about it, because I still thought I could get into medical school with a 486 MCAT. Like that, you gotta have a lot of hope in yourself to believe that. So don't do that, because it's pointless. You just wasting money, honestly. My biggest advice would be to take your MCAT, get your score, and then submit your application. Never submit your application first and then wait on your score, especially if you're taking it for the first time. It's just too much of a gamble. Medical school is expensive. Unless your application fees are $0, like don't risk it, because like we already discussed, medical school is not going anywhere. Don't worry about the time. So get all your ducks in a row before you apply to medical school. That's like my biggest advice. So yeah, after that, did not get an acceptance anywhere clearly. I ended up applying to Central in Durham because, like I said, the commute from Durham to Greensboro I was not about to keep doing that. So I just attended a local school. It was like 15 minutes from my house, and they don't have like an official post-bac program, but it does not, at the end of the day, it really does not have to be official. It does not have to be an official post-bac program. These classes are the same. Like somebody in undergrad used to tell me, oh, take like your harder classes at a community college or at a HBCU because it'll be easier. That is a lie. A lie. Don't do that, because first of all, these admissions committee people, they hear the rumors, they know the rumors. So if they see you at, I don't know, Princeton, Harvard, biology degree, and you transferring to, I'm just going to name a HBCU, Central, NCCU, to take your upper level classes, they're gonna look like, why did you do that? Like, that doesn't make sense. So don't listen to that lie or that fib. Make sure you take all your upper level classes at your undergrad if you can, and do well in them in your undergrad if you can. So yeah, I went to Central and I did that for I did it for one semester. It wasn't even for a year. I did it for one semester. It was in the winter, and I took maybe like 17 or 18 credit hours. I got all A's in those classes, and they were literally all science, chemistry, math courses. It was strictly to keep boosting my BCBM, which is your biology, chemistry, physics, math, GPA. So yeah, I ended up getting all A's, so that meant I got a 4.0, so that raised my GPA even more. Combined with everything, it still didn't look good. Like, if you separated my post-bac from my undergrad, you could definitely see a huge improvement, especially because overall I ended up taking 58 credit hours extra during my post-bac. So yeah, that's a lot actually. And I got mainly A's in those courses. Overall, I finished with like a 3.75 overall. Like my whole entire post-bac science GPA was a 3.75. So they went from looking at my 2.3 science GPA at UNC Charlotte to my 3.75 post-bac GPA, science one at that. So that just shows significant improvement. And if you show significant improvement, it stands out. You just want to also make sure you're taking enough credit hours, because I know schools like even UNC, if you didn't do well, if you don't meet their minimum requirements, then you need to show 30 credit hours or more, excelling their requirements, just to show that you have improved. So definitely make sure you have the time for it. Somebody was asking me, because I've explained my story to other people before, and somebody was asking me, like, did I work during all of this? And I did work. It is possible to work, especially if you have to work. You want to definitely make sure that you pay your bills as well, if that's what you have to do. But if you're in a predicament where you don't have to work, make sure you spend most of your time studying. If you do have to work, make sure that you spend your time prioritizing your studying over work. If that means you need to bring your material with you so you can study on your downtimes or on your lunch break, you got to do what you have to do, because I was put in both situations. There was times where I could have worked, but I chose not to work because I needed to study. And then there were times towards the end where I had to work because I had bills to pay, but I had to also make sacrifices. Even when it came to my job, like I had to sacrifice going out to lunch with friends and stuff because I needed to, study. So you do what you have to do to make it work. What else can I talk about? I don't know. It's getting late. We've been up here for like an hour. I don't want to talk y'all heads off. But overall, in summary, I ended up taking the MCAT again for the third time. After I had did this summer medical program. So I did a summer medical program at UNC. It's called their MED program. I did that 2018, and I excelled in that program. So definitely recommend, if you have a low GPA or if your stats are low, if you don't really have many extracurricular activities, look into a summer medical program. Those typically last during the summer. So make sure you have availability and excel in those programs. Those programs are going to definitely stick out on your medical school application, and they're going to stick out even more if you do extremely well in them. So definitely look into those. If your stats are on the lower ends, even if your stats aren't on the lower ends, you can still do it. It shows you the realities of medical school. So if you're on the fence of medical school, you don't really know if it's for you, maybe do a summer medical program like UNC MED's program, because it will really introduce you to how medical school operates. So after that program, I decided to take the MCAT in 2019 of April. Yeah, April 2019. Didn't feel comfortable taking it. I ended up voiding my score. It's okay to void. Yeah, it hurts if you waste that $300 and something, but it's better to void than know deep down in your heart that this is not the best you can do. And I want to say, you're never going to feel comfortable. Like Brittany said yesterday, you're never going to feel ready for the MCAT, because it's just so much. Like, you don't know what questions they're going to ask you. They might be physics heavy, or they might be chemistry heavy, or they might be biochemistry heavy, or they might be general biology heavy. Like, you just never know what's going to come at you. So there's so much information out here. You're not going to obtain it all. So you're never going to feel completely ready. But if you're scoring where you want to be on your practice exams, then you're probably ready to take the real MCAT. At the time when I avoided my score, I was not even scoring where I really wanted to score. I knew I didn't spend too much time on the car section like I should have like I did for the other sections. So definitely make sure you spend as much time on every section of the MCAT that you can. Don't just focus on your strength. Don't just focus on your weakness. Focus on all the subjects on the MCAT, because you're going to want to do really well on, don't sleep on cars, because I slept on cars and it will affect your score. That's why I got a 499, if I'm being honest. So before I get into that, April voided my score, took it again in May because I wanted to really, really apply the cycle of 2019 to 2020. Not to say that you need to rush it. If you don't feel ready, don't do it. But I felt like I could do it, and I felt like it was my time to do it. So I ended up taking it again in May 2019, got my score back June, and cried because it was a 499, and I had actually studied my butt off this time for the MCAT. I studied for like 3 to 4 months. I took maybe 10 practice tests. I know Brittany said yesterday for her, I think she took, how many did you take, Brittany? You said like 4 or 5? For me personally, I took like over 10, and I felt like I should have took more than 10, but everybody's journey is different. Like, if you don't believe that, then you're crazy, because it's me, Brittany, and Kayla. We're all from the same 3 to 5. I don't honestly remember. So she took 3 to 5. I took 10 to maybe 15. Wish I would have took 25. Everybody's journey is different. Like I was saying, me, Brittany, and Kayla, we were all raised in the same household with the same parents, but our journeys are completely different, so just know, even with us telling you guys this advice, yes, it's good if you listen, but just know, if your journey still doesn't match up to the advice we're giving, it's okay. Your journey may be different. I'm pretty sure people actually did tell me, especially when I got my MCAT score of a 499, that I needed to retake it. Don't waste your money again applying, blah, blah, blah. Still did it, still got accepted. So you just got to understand, your journey may be different. You just cannot give up on it. Just keep going. So like I said, got my score back June 2019. It was a 499. If I break down my scores, I got a 126 in the Chem Phys section. I got a 123 in the car section. Y'all tell me if this adds up to 499. I think this is right. 126 in the Chem Phys, 123 in the cars, 124 in the bio, and then 126 in the psych portion. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my score distribution. And I feel like I would have killed myself this application cycle if I would have scored like a 122 or lower in a section. Like, you want to make sure, if you can, all your sections are above 125, but if they're a little shy of 125, you don't want them to be drastically shy of 125. And even though 122 doesn't sound drastic, we all know how the MCAT works. 1 point makes a huge difference. Like my 499, even though 1 point to 500, it still made me look a lot differently than somebody who actually made a 500. So definitely take the MCAT as serious as you can. Take it as many times as don't take it as many times as you can, because I think you can take it, I don't know how many times, but just make sure when you do take it, you are prepared. Don't waste all your money retaking it over and over. Like Brittany said yesterday, who wants to keep taking that dreadful, horrible test? Who wants to keep studying for that test? Nobody. So go ahead and do what you need to do from the beginning. I wish we could like hashtag that. Do what you need to do from the beginning, because you're going to have to end up doing it again if you don't. So do what you need to do. Don't waste time like I did. But anyways, yeah, I made sure that my application, when I applied again for the second time, I submitted it in August 2019. So like I said, I got my score back in June. Even though I was weary about it, I still felt deep down in my spirit that this 499 was going to carry me into the medical school that I needed to go to. So I ended up still applying with my 499. I submitted my application in August. If you are applying with a low GPA and a low MCAT, you want to make sure your application is really good in other areas. So your activity section needs to be spectacular. Not saying you need to lie and say, oh, I did research here, because I didn't have any research on my application and still got into Brody School of Medicine. So definitely don't lie about your stuff, but definitely sell yourself at this moment. Because you already have turned a lot of people away just by your MCAT and your low science GPA or cumulative GPA. So you want to make sure you turn their heads back the other way with something else that stands out. So just find it and do it and make your application stand out. So I made sure all my extracurricular activities look good. Like I said, I excelled in that summer medical program. Even though my MCAT was a 499, from a 486 to a 499, that's like a 14-point increase. So a lot of schools don't think people can do that. So just make sure if you do have to retake the MCAT, you're showing an increase, not a decrease. What else can I say?
Also ask what's considered a good or excellent score range for the MCAT.
Oh, it depends on your school. So the school you want to apply to, you can look them up online. Go to their statistics, go to their frequently asked questions. A lot of medical schools have like their requirements on their page. So if you just click their requirements, you'll see, oh, we don't accept anybody with lower than this MCAT or lower than this GPA, or oh, you need to have done this much research, like maybe a school at Duke. If you want to go to Duke University med school, you know you need to up your game when it comes to research. If you want to attend Harvard Medical School, then you know you need to up your game when it comes to that GPA and that MCAT score. If you want to attend Brody School of Medicine, then you know you need to up your game to just make your medical school, I can't even talk, to make your application very well-rounded if it's not up in a certain area. Because I honestly got waitlisted. My scores are not great. Like, I applied to 10 medical schools the second time I applied to medical school back in August. And that's just, a lot of people say I was crazy to only do 10 medical schools, but you got to be realistic with yourself. If you don't have thousands of dollars to just blow and take a chance, you got to be strategic where you apply. So if you are scoring a 500 to maybe a 505 on the MCAT, and you want to go to Harvard, you might need to think about how can I raise my GPA to maybe a 514, a 515, a 520, because those are more so their requirements. Not saying everyone who gets in meets those requirements, because some people don't, but you got to make sure you have a heck of an application. You know where you're applying. Make connections where you're applying. I feel like that helped me a little bit. Be strategic, like I already said, where you're applying. Don't be afraid to email other people, like people in that admissions office. For schools you want to apply to, get to know them. Figure out their emails. Look it up online. Look it up on the school's website. Just simply send them a, hey, how are you? This is me. I just want to let you know who I am type of email. You know, just do things like that to make yourself stand out, because things like that will help you along the way, especially if you already know you're having a hard time getting in with your GPA and MCAT alone. So, like I said, just make sure you make up in other areas. For me, that happened to be my extracurricular activities. That happened to be the way I made connections with people in the admissions office. That happens to be the way I did well in my interviews. Like, prepare prepare in every other aspect and every other area that you can if you know you have a very important area that is not looking too good. So I'm just going to wrap it up by saying you can definitely get into medical school with a low GPA and a low MCAT. You just have to overcome it. I'm not saying apply to medical school with a 2.3 science GPA or a 485 MCAT. Don't do that. I got those scores and I had those scores, but I overcame those scores. So you definitely want to make sure that you overcome your weaknesses and show improvement. And that's about it. I feel like I probably answered so many questions, but if y'all have questions.
Oh, yeah, I asked how much you save before applying. I asked how much you think someone should save before applying, like total cost.
It depends on how many schools you want to apply to. So applying to 10, they have the cost on the AMCA's website. I don't want to tell you the wrong number, but I think you have to pay like a flat cost of like $75 just for primary applications, and then I think it's like maybe $20 or $30 extra every time you add a school. You can also look into their fee programs. Like I know AMCA, they have this application you can fill out if you're disadvantaged economically. And if you're approved, then all your applications are free. And I think they even send you MCAT material to study for free. So if you don't come from a lot of money, then just know there's resources and there's programs you can apply for to have access to those resources. But overall, if you're paying for this all by yourself, I would say at least save a good $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $2,000 for all of this. I had a friend, she had a credit card. She said she used a credit card to pay for her application. So that's an option too. Just make sure you pay that back. So there's different ways to pay for it. Save about $2,000 if you can, $2,000 plus, maybe $3,000 plus. You got to think about the material too to study for the MCAT. That gets expensive. $3,000 plus. Save it if you can. Okay, any more questions? I know I talked your head off for an hour. Hopefully this was some good advice though. I want all of us to win. So like I said from the beginning, if I can do it, you can do it. So just, do what you need to do.
Thank you so much. This was so helpful for me because I've been on the struggle bus for a long time now. But yeah.
No problem. And yeah, you have the recording so other people can see it too, which is good. No problem at all. Kayla, I don't know what you got next, or if you want to let other people know what's next, or if you're just gonna post that on your Instagram.
Yeah, I was contemplating if I should post on Instagram today with the whole Blackout Tuesday thing.
Oh, yeah, maybe just I don't know.
I should wait till tomorrow, but I gotta respect.
Or just post it on your story. I don't know.
But I have a dental student that's talking tomorrow.
That's good. Diversity.
About how to get into dental school, stats, and everything like that.
Good. All right. Well, it's been good talking to you guys. Kayla has my contact information, so if anybody ever needs advice or help with anything, just ask Kayla for my contact stuff, and I will keep in touch.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See y'all.
All right, bye.
Bye.